It's Wednesday. It's Friday at the same time. It feels like a holiday. And that's maybe because we're about to talk to Chip Patterson, CBSSports.com, Cover 3 podcast moderator. It's a big Cover 3 podcast day because Danny Kanell is next hour. Embarrassment of riches for me. Chip Patterson, my friend, in advance, a little earlier appearance. I know you've got TV duties coming up. So thanks for doing this a little early. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. What are the Patterson traditions for the holiday? Too many.
Too many. Too many to name. Truthfully, it is one that I've been malleable. You know, we've had some Thanksgivings that, for example, my family had a Thanksgiving. Our Thanksgiving dinner was in New York City at a French restaurant one time.
We've done that.
Family,
we did it at a Chinese restaurant.
Thanksgiving Day parade. We did a lot of other, holiday season in the city events. I was in middle school, I think. We've had some good Thanksgiving, some tough Thanksgiving. So I would say that we're not, we're not locked in to just one set of expectations.
Flexibility.
But, it's a flexible holiday. I will say, to peel back the curtain on this unprecedented statewide platform, it is going to be a fundamentally impressive feat for you to be on with Danny Kanell next hour.
Well, yes.
It's going to be really impressive. I know Danny's very talented.
He is, yes. That may or may not have been recorded yesterday afternoon.
I know who I'm on CBS Sports Network with from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. today.
Chip Patterson.
It's impressive. That's all. I'm just going to say it's impressive. But fired up to be with you.
Before we get to the playoff, what do you make of what's going on at Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin? Because, nobody is denying that he's been, courted by both Florida and LSU. Somebody reached out to me and said, yeah, LSU is done. I have no idea, and I don't necessarily I wouldn't necessarily trust that person with the information anyway. Not that I don't trust that person, but it's just not his thing. What do you make of what's going on here?
Big boy decisions.
Right.
You're playing in a different league. I think that anyone who can say with certainty that they know what's going to happen here is lying, unless your name is Lane Kiffin.
Right.
I think Lane has enjoyed being wooed. I think he has enjoyed all of the everything that has come with the successful season and the current coaching carousel. The idea that somebody that was seemingly cast out of the power conferences, fired on a tarmac as USC's head coach, he had to go down to Florida Atlantic to rehabilitate his head coaching career. And to go from that, playing in the, leading a team in a Conference USA title game, to spending this exact same weekend getting wooed by the likes of LSU and Florida and having Ole Miss back up the Brinks truck, ready to just make you mayor of Oxford. Number one, I think Lane is enjoying the process.
Sure.
I don't think everybody is enjoying the process. Mm-mm. I feel confident Ole Miss is not enjoying the process.
Do you think his players are cool with it? We sort of went through it with Will Wade, right? It obviously much lower profile because of McNeese State in the Southland,
right? Rival.
Right. Different with a conference rival. Also different when you get to where Ole Miss is right now, in rarefied air for that program. Because, and I asked Danny this, I was surprised at the answer, but doesn't really matter. I asked him how many teams could win a national championship, and he thought maybe a dozen. He said there will be teams that miss the playoff that I think could win a national championship. I don't want to get into whether or not I think that's right or wrong, but Ole Miss is a playoff team. So I'm going to say that Ole Miss has a chance to win a playoff. This would be like high-level sabotage if Lane Kiffin isn't going to be with the Rebels as we get further along in this process.
I mean, if I'm LSU and I'm putting together $100 million offer, I don't want you to spend another day doing anything other than working on LSU. And that's not just the transfer portal. That's not just the recruiting class that, has an early signing day right here at the beginning of December,
Right.
That is, that is LSU wanting to make sure that every bit of your energy is spent assembling the staff. I mean, we don't need to go way off the line, and I'm not meaning to send astray at Chapel Hill, but as I've continued to sort of unpack everything that's happened, the speed with which Bill Belichick assembled the staff was probably one thing that could have been improved in terms of the entire roster building process.
Yeah, I don't think I would use the term speed. It took forever.
It just adds. I want to bring the full picture of it's not even just the players, right? Lane Kiffin, if he's going to be paid $100 million, or if he's going to get one of the biggest contracts in all of college football, whether it's at LSU or at Florida, anywhere other than Ole Miss, Texas, Alabama, Tennessee Titans, who cares? Wherever they want to know that you are going to be spending every second from the moment you accept the job preparing for the 2026 season for that team. So, yeah, if LSU or Florida were in the college football playoff, it would feel a little bit more like sabotage. I think it's just, again, my first response to you, these are big boy decisions.
Yeah.
This is big, high stakes, no feelings kind of money, and this is no feelings kind of decisions that are being made when it comes to the future of these three programs.
Should it impact if they announce on the Egg Bowl is tomorrow night? If they announce Friday, Lane's the new coach at LSU, should it impact Ole Miss?
No. With Florida State, we had not just one game, but multiple games when we saw the Seminoles without Jordan Travis.
Right.
And you could point to that's a far different team. You don't know whether if Pete Golding, for example, were to take over as the interim coach, the defensive coordinator for the Rebels, you don't know if that defense all of a sudden decides that they're going to lead the charge. You don't know that Ole Miss cannot be able to put together playoff caliber football with the absence of Lane Kiffin. And if you believe in damage control, the messaging has been there. Just when you get a chance, you'd be really surprised. The Ole Miss official football Twitter account was very celebratory about the Broyles Award finalist honors for Charlie Weiss Jr. And in a big promotional, congratulations, Charlie, on being named one of the top assistant coaches in the country, they noted play caller, game planner, as if to message Adam, it ain't all Lane. This offense can still score without Lane. So I wonder whether Ross Dellinger's got a report that Ole Miss is already starting to put together if Lane leaves type candidates lists.
Sure.
Florida, according to a Ross Dellinger report, has already started to really start to think about what the rest of the job search might look like if Lane goes to LSU or stays at Ole Miss. So I think that the preparations are such that he would leave. But again, I want to drive this home. I do not believe anybody, unless you are Lane Kiffin, that this thing is final.
All right, so I think Lane could stay. I think Lane could stay at Ole Miss. I wouldn't be super surprised if he did. Everything is about perception. In college football, it's all about perception. It's why Miami could lose to a one-loss Louisville team who was clearly a different team then before all of the injuries to the running back position, and they have now lost 3 straight, and why the committee can basically devalue anything you have done to Louisville, anything you have experienced with Louisville, even though we know that Louisville is not the same team today than they were then. Florida State, the games that they won without Jordan Travis. And I think it's worth pointing out, games that they won without Jordan Travis didn't matter because of the perception that they were not the same team. It would be a farce to me to try to pretend that Ole Miss would be the same team. I'm not saying they'd be dramatically worse. if they were a 2-loss team as opposed to a 1-loss team, I think, and I'm not arguing that Ole Miss doesn't belong in the playoff. That is not the point. But we can't pretend that they would be the same. But if they were a 2-loss team, it would be more of a conversation. But they are 10-1, and they're going to beat Mississippi State, and they'll be 11-1. And I guess there's still a chance they could play in the SEC championship game. I don't know. But anyway,
wow, that's a confident statement on an Egg Bowl with some putrid vibes in Starkville, Mississippi.
Maybe. And if okay, so let me ask this question: if they lose to Mississippi State,
yeah,
what's like they're not in any, and then Lane leaves, we're not having a different conversation?
No, they're in trouble.
Okay, they are. They just for losing to Mississippi State, whether Lane stays or not, they might be in trouble.
No, Ole Miss does not have a robust resume. They've got they've got the close loss against Georgia. They've got the win against Oklahoma. But man, it ain't like overflowing with quality victories. A second loss, you know what it's similar to? It's similar to the Oregon Ducks. If I was Oregon, I would not lose to Washington.
Right.
It's a different conversation because Oklahoma and Alabama and Notre Dame have already gotten preferential treatment as the top 2 loss teams in the country. And so you don't want to be into that conversation if you are already clear of it. Texas Tech is another one. Hey, you're going to play Rich Rod at West Virginia. You should win by 50, but it's the last game of the season,
right? And
it's at West Virginia. So there's a couple of spots here where I'm kind of circling and I'm saying you control your destiny more than most teams. However, if you screw this up, things could get dicey, and Ole Miss is on that list. Yeah,
take it from somebody who has been in Morgantown in late November, early December-ish time. It can get blurry in Morgantown, West Virginia. Chip Patterson joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. So last week, the new committee chairman has said that Notre Dame and Miami were not in the same pool of teams. Therefore, we're not really taking into account head-to-head. Now he did say that they were in the same pool, but they still were not taking it into account. And frankly, I'm not arguing that Notre Dame doesn't belong, but it does baffle me how little they look at who you beat as opposed to who you lost to. And but I say this in basketball too. We harp on who'd you lose to? Well, we're not playing any of those teams. Who'd you beat? And Miami would have, by a substantial margin, I think, the best win of those two teams. And there's also enough of an overlap in the schedules where we can compare these two teams because Notre Dame played a lot of the same teams Miami played. So I don't think there's that much difference between the two teams, but apparently even though they're in the same pool, one's in the kiddie area and the other's in the deep end.
Miami started at 18, they're all the way up to 12, and they've been beaten tomato cans. If
the same teams Notre Dame beat.
Same argument. They put them too low. They've been slowly sliding them up, even though the wins have not necessarily been of quality variety. No. They're ending with something that's probably a little bit closer to where they should have started. Notre Dame's awesome.
I'm just confused as to how they're awesome.
They're awesome. It's like our Indiana fights. If you go and you kick butt,
right,
and nothing can stop the foot from kicking the butt,
right,
then there is something inherent. I mean, this is a violent game.
I agreed.
It's about land grab and about kicking butt. And I think that Notre Dame does a great job of kicking butt. Miami does not always kick enough butt. So I think the Fighting Irish they've been a team that kick a lot of butt.
So we're going to get to the last game. And look, Pitt, who ruins everything.
Right.
I don't think there's an ACC team other than occasionally Georgia Tech who got beat by Pitt. I don't think there's an ACC team that has ruined more seasons than Pitt. Maybe it's just perception over the last several years. But if Miami goes to Pitt, is it at? Yeah, it's at Pitt. If Miami goes to Pitt and wins comfortably, what kind of it? Now, maybe it doesn't. Like I said, I'm not even arguing that Miami should get in ahead of Notre Dame, but I would much rather hear the committee say, this is why we love Notre Dame, and not necessarily say they're just better than Miami, because it's hard for people to unsee a game in which Miami was significantly better than Notre Dame. If we remember that first game of the season, Miami let their foot off the gas in the middle of the third quarter and hung on. But
I think that's a show of weakness for a college football team. The inability to put your opponent away, it's weakness.
It is a weakness. Except they won the game.
They won the game. 42-7 was the score against Stanford. 41-7 was the score against NC State. Here's how I'll put it. If Miami goes to Acrisure Stadium in 31-degree weather, Miami on the road in November in 31-degree weather against Pat Narduzzi and Pitt, okay, if I set all that up, and they whoop them at the line of scrimmage and win 42-7, similar score to what they had against Stanford, what they had against NC State. If they put up 42-7, I think Notre Dame better crush Stanford.
And they're going to crush Stanford anyway.
If Miami's final statement is beating Pitt by a larger margin than Notre Dame beat Pitt, then Notre Dame might need style points with that 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff against Stanford. I would not lay an egg on the farm.
All right, final thing, because we do have to go. I mean, am I crazy to wonder why we never talk about wins? It seems like we always talk about losses and stats. And Miami's
Everybody
win
always has a lot of wins when we get to these conversations.
Right, so why don't we highlight the best ones? Notre Dame's best win is who?
USC.
Right, I agree. And their second best win is who?
I think USC is the only one that registers.
Pitt would. I don't know.
Pitt would, correct. It did not last week, but it would this week.
Right. And, at the end of the day, they only care about, are you ranked at the end? And Miami theoretically would have this one as well. Like, again, I don't think that I value the win more than the committee does. The committee needs it needs to look a certain way. But I think your job is just to win. I don't know. But they don't have enough data. We only play 12. So there's just not enough data. Oh, I did want to ask you this one question, and we're going way too long. What are the chances that Miami, who is the best team in the ACC, that if they beat Pitt, they still get in at the expense of the ACC champion?
That seems unlikely.
12-1 JMU, Tulane does the thing in the American, and then both of those leagues get conference championship spots.
Adam, I would have believed it more if JMU had shown up in the playoff rankings. The continued
it's far-fetched
disrespect of the Dukes is a message that could not be more clear. They grabbed Arizona State and Arizona. I mean, they were grabbing Big 12 teams, Adam. There's a one-loss JMU team that has done nothing.
I agree with you. It's very far-fetched, but
like SMU is not ranked right now. If SMU wins the ACC, they'll magically show up.
Oh, of course they will. Of course they will. Chip Patterson, happy Thanksgiving to you, my man. I'll talk to you soon.